All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Brotherly Banter podcast. I'm Christian and Sebastian. Today we're going to be discussing Colombia, correct? And traveling over to Colombia.
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about Colombia.
All right. So he's got more experience in this with this country, obviously, than I do. So I'm going to be asking questions and kind of, you know, letting him kind of explain to him explain to us what he's experienced and kind of give you some tips in case you're thinking about traveling over to Colombia and in South America. For those of you who don't know where Colombia is, but Sebastian, go ahead and I guess give us a
All
little
right.
information on what you've experienced, and then we'll kind of, I'll ask some questions and give some information on that.
Yes. So today I want to talk about Colombia, like you mentioned. So first of all, why Colombia? So I live in South Florida. Colombia is about 3 hours away, and it takes about probably close to 4 hours to get to Vegas. So one of my friends that lives down here in South Florida, one time he's like, "Why don't we just go to Colombia? It's a direct flight. You stay in the same time zone. It's a good time. It's safe as long as you stay in the areas." So I jumped on a flight with him one weekend. I think we went out there for like 5 days. And I went back two other times after that. So great experience. A couple of things. So Colombia, like you mentioned, is in South America. So it's not very far compared to other South American countries like Brazil or Argentina or Chile. So you have really easy access. The flights are fairly cheap. I know last time, when's the last time you went out of the country? I'm trying to think as far
Well,
as South America.
South America, no,
Yeah.
it's been a while since I've been to anywhere near South America.
Yeah. I think the last time was like probably Argentina, right?
Probably like 20 years now.
Yeah. And that was like a 10-hour flight, but I think we went from New York.
Yeah, we left from was it JFK? Was it JFK?
Yeah. JFK all the way
And
down.
yeah, we it was a long that was a long flight. Um, I I I really hate flying, man. Flying's already hard for me because I'm so big and like my legs just don't fit in the rows. But having to fly that long without especially if you don't have a layover. The other times I've flown, I laid over in I think Brazil.
I
But
remember that. I remember that.
uh, it's definitely an experience. But when was it you went? Yeah, was it?
So I went three times in the last, you talking about Colombia, right?
Yeah,
Three times in the last 2 years. And the reason I bring that up about, you remember your trip, that was a long trip to South America, Argentina. This is a much shorter trip. You get in there, you can make it a weekend trip. You can make it a Thursday through a Tuesday, or you can stay down there a whole week like I did last time. But a couple reasons why a lot of people are going to Colombia. Number one, obviously, if you're single, it's a good experience to go there with a group of guys, or you want to go by yourself and just meet people out there. I met a lot of good friends that I still stay in contact with in Colombia. Number two, maybe you just want to go see a new country, try to get a kind of feel for the culture and the cuisine, good food down there also. But I want to talk specifically about two cities you can go to in Colombia. Number one is Cartagena, and number two is Medellin. And that's where a lot of these guys you probably see on YouTube when you type in videos where to go in Colombia as a single guy. Those are the two cities that usually pop up. Have you heard of those two, Chris?
yeah. I mean, obviously, those are the two well-known cities. Are they close to each other? Are they separate? Separate points, or like where are they located in Colombia?
Yeah, so Cartagena is a coastal city. So Cartagena is more just if you want to go, you like the beach. That's where a lot of Colombians go also for the weekend, or they go for their vacation. And it's kind of weird because the downtown, I don't know if you can pull it up, but downtown like area of Cartagena, they have the old town, which is like a wall city, and then it looks kind of like Brickell, their new construction. So that was the first trip I did. I went to Cartagena, and I guess we can start there because this was going to be more like a summer vacation, beach, boats, and just exploring different islands. So a couple of things when if you're planning a trip to Colombia, obviously number one, you want to make sure you have an updated passport. That's number one. I know a lot of people don't have their passports yet, so you definitely got to get your passport in advance. I think you're in the process of renewing it, right?
Yeah, right now.
Or no?
So I think this would have been 8 weeks since I sent my passport in to get renewed. They tell you I think up to like 13 weeks. So it definitely is taking some time to get your stuff done, especially if you're not paying for the expedited service.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you got it for 10 years, but you have to renew it a couple months ahead of time. I don't think they let you leave the country if it's 6 months within of that time frame of expiration. So once you have your passport, you booked your flight. If you have a COVID, I don't know what the COVID restrictions are right now, but I know when I go, since I'm not vaccinated, I do have to take a COVID test before I leave, and then I have to usually take a COVID test when I get back. And usually they don't be asked for me. I'll ask for it on the way back.
Is it just the
Uh,
swab? Is it just the standard swab?
yeah, yeah, you don't have to do PCR. I do PCR just to kind of play it safe to make sure, but any of those antigen tests work. So antigen test before you leave. If you have the vaccination, that's all you need. You're good. And then once you arrive there, one other thing too, just a reminder, like if you guys go out to Colombia, you do not need any sort of I mean, if you want to bring a debit card or sorry, a credit card, that's probably your best bet. Just bring a credit card and just make sure they don't charge you all those international fees. So that's one thing to look into. And then just bring some cash on you too. When you get to the airport, you can exchange a couple pesos, Colombian pesos, which I think right now is like 4,500 to $1, I believe. Yeah, their bills are pretty crazy. They're all in
Are they?
thousands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it seems like a lot of those places down there are having the same, the same type of currency. Like I know Argentina, I think Venezuela. Like when Venezuela now their currency is just like nothing. But
that's
um,
inflation. Yeah,
yeah. Um, so Cartagena, like I just have some pictures pulled up here. I mean, I can
yeah.
share it real quick. Give me a sec here.
Cartagena is a great city. While you're loading this up, Cartagena is a great city. If you like the beach, you like that coastal weather. It's definitely a little warmer in Cartagena compared to Medellin. And that first picture there, Chris, if you
This
want
one.
that first one, yeah, that's inside the wall city. So they have like the old area, the old town of like it's called the walled city. It's beautiful. You can stay actually inside the wall city if you want to, and that is very easy to commute. So you see that city behind it?
Yeah. What is
The
that?
one, okay, that's what I'm talking about. That looks like Brickell. That's that new part at like Boca, I think it's called Boca Grande. Yeah, Boca
Yeah.
Grande. That's where my friend lives actually. A gentleman I used to work with, he met a Colombian chick out there, and then he lives in Boca Grande. So it's like an upscale area of
Yeah.
Cartagena. If you
That's
don't want
funny.
to stay in the touristy area, you just stay in Boca Grande. You can get a nice Airbnb if you're staying there temporarily, or you can stay at a hotel.
Yeah. I mean,
Now, yeah, looks nice, right?
yeah. I mean, it's two different looks. I mean, this here looks like you're cutting a completely different country, obviously, and then here you look like it looks like you're in Miami for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
It's super crazy. Is the water like nice or is it look? Some of these
So,
pictures look like it's clear. Other pictures looks like it's kind of dirty. I can't tell.
So the beaches right there in Cartagena are not as nice, but when you go to the islands, because remember it's on the coastal, so you have all these islands. I think they're called the Rosario Islands, and you can do excursions, either spend the night there or do like 1 day excursions, which I did, and then you get to explore the different islands they have, and it's very inexpensive. So I would recommend maybe staying a couple days inside the wall city, so you don't have to keep taking an Uber into the city because that's where they have all the music, they have all the nightlife. There is a sky lounge bar, like a rooftop bar in Boca Grande or that area, like the high rises.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend checking that out. You can see the whole entire Cartagena at night, all lit up, and it's one of the highest points of Cartagena, which is beautiful. It's called, I think, Sky Lounge or
Is
Sky Bar.
is this Walden City? A wall? What was it called? Wall City?
Yeah, it's just like the old town, like
Is it?
wall city.
I mean, is it safe, relatively safe in here, or is it?
Yeah,
Like if you like leave this area, that's where it kind of gets sketchy outside
yeah,
of
no,
this.
you're mostly safe inside the wall city. Very safe.
Okay.
And like I said, I stayed at a hotel in there. The hotels are very crammed. Everything's so small, so tight.
Yeah.
So you'll be walking down the streets and there's actually hotels that open up, these doors that open up, and then there's these massive hotels inside. It's kind of weird. But definitely, if you're gonna go to Cartagena, you can stay maybe 1 or 2 nights. You don't have to stay all at one, like the whole entire time in one place. You can do the Wall City. Then you can do. I stayed at the Hilton, which is at the end of kind of Cartagena, which I really recommend the Hilton if you want the kind of all the hotel amenities and things of that sort. And then a couple of things, obviously nightlife. A lot of people go there for the nightlife. You got to be safe. Don't bring jewelry. Don't hold your phone out the whole time, just simple things when you go to different countries.
Yeah, hey, guys,
Yeah,
for those of you who have never traveled outside of the U.S., um, especially some of these developing countries that are maybe not what you're used to, leave all your jewelry, leave your flashy stuff. Don't be walking around with super expensive designer clothing. Just dress normal. Don't stick out like a sore thumb, and your
exactly.
chances of of not getting mugged or robbed is a lot better. If you go there flashing all your jewelry that you wear here in the U.S. and all your flashy, Louis Vuitton and whatever else, Gucci, you're just asking for trouble. As Americans, we're a bit spoiled, and we don't even realize it until we actually leave this country. And you start seeing like, okay,
Yeah.
we have it made over here. And I tell every time, and I've been to Europe, places in Europe. I've been to South America. I've been to Central America, the islands. Every
Bora
time,
Bora.
yeah, like in the small islands. Every time, and as beautiful as those places are, every time I get back, I'm so grateful to live in the US. It's nice to be able to go visit places, but like even the nicest places I've been to, I still can't see myself living. And if you compare it to the US, we just have it so easy here, and just like everything is,
It's the convenience I think you're
it's
used to.
convenient, very convenient. It's hard to get used to
Yeah.
that life where you don't, you're probably not going to have a car. Everything, you have to walk everywhere. You don't have access to all the things we have here in the US. It's very different. But yeah, just keep all your stuff here. If you're
Yeah.
traveling that way, you're not asking for trouble.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people probably see a culture shock. Not, I didn't see, I mean, I'm used to traveling outside the country. I mean, it is a third world country. There's other countries you go to and everything's updated. You don't feel it as much. But in Colombia, you're going there to have a good time. You want to make sure you're safe. Um, and I guess we can jump into now like what to do, or if you want to go out there and kind of meet women and things of that
Well,
sort.
well,
Go ahead.
before we get into
Yeah.
I guess that part
Yeah.
of it, what's the other city you mentioned?
Oh, yeah. So the other city is Medellin.
Okay, Medellin. So
That's where I went last.
is Medellin like basically the one that we see, everyone here sees the movies on, like Escobar and all that? Isn't that Medellin?
Yeah, so Medellin has a bad reputation because that's where all the cartel was in Medellin, Pablo Escobar cartel back in the 80s, the 90s. But they cleaned the city up. It's nothing compared to what it used to be. It's a totally different vibe. This is like a city, and I would say like in the jungle. It's all green. It's beautiful. It's mountains. When you get to the airport, you got to take like a 45-minute Uber drive just to get off the mountain. Yeah, type in Medellin there. That's still Cartagena, I think. Oh, no,
Oh,
Medellin.
that's Medellin.
Yeah, it
That,
is a
that's beautiful.
gorgeous,
Wow.
gorgeous city, man. Like I was blown away how beautiful Medellin is. They have the perfect climate. It's almost always like 70 degrees out, beautiful. And for the most part, it's a bigger city than Cartagena, of course. So you have to be more careful. But they have different areas if you want to explore that big rock, that famous rock. This is outside of Medellin. It's about
This
I
one.
think an hour or two outside Medellin. Yeah, yeah. But I stayed inside a city called Poblado, which is a very nice area of Medellin, and you can find really good hotels for under $100. I'm talking about great hotels. I think I sent you a video one time, Krista, when I got there, how
Yeah.
nice the hotel was. I think I paid $100 for that hotel.
Yeah, and if we can find it, I might add it to the video here later. But so as far as which one was your favorite out of both of these places to go? If they, people only have one shot, or a few days to go visit one place, what would you recommend first?
I would say if you want the kind of the ocean summer vibe, if you want to go out to like you want to rent a boat, you want to go to the islands, you like that type of environment, I would definitely recommend Cartagena. And then if you want to do kind of a city vibe, kind of go sightseeing, go to restaurants, go to rooftop bars, I would probably do Medellin. You can do both. I mean, my friend, he goes to Colombia like every 2 weeks, it seems like. He met someone out there. So, and he's going all over Colombia. He's going to Cali, he's going to Bogota, he's going to all these different cities.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
One of the things that I was looking into, so it appears that obviously English is taught across the world, but if you're going to be going to, Colombia, you may want to brush up on some Spanish. it
Yeah.
Everyone, from everything I've seen, people are, they kind of struggle with communication because not everyone really speaks Spanish or English as well as, some countries like, when I went to France, like a lot of people in Europe will speak English. It seems like Colombia, like even though they know enough to, to maybe communicate a little bit, but it's not highly used in even in the touristy areas.
Yeah. I would say you could probably still get around with English in in these cities, specifically like Cartagena. It's a touristy area, and Medellin, especially if you stay at a hotel, the front desk speaks perfect English.
Yeah.
By the way, you have a choice, you have an option between Airbnbs and hotels. I personally like hotels because you have everything else that comes with it. You have the security up front, but some people go with Airbnbs, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, the language is, I guess that's why I didn't feel it as much because I speak Spanish, but I can understand it be a little bit more difficult or a lot more difficult if you don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, and they, there obviously there's things to be written, like the menus and restaurants are probably, have English, stuff in English, but I think for the most part, especially if you kind of stray away from like the actual touristy areas, it's probably going to get a little harder to communicate. And you just don't want to get caught in a bind. Obviously now with technology, you have Google Translate and everything at your hand, so it's not that big of a deal. But that's what from just doing some research from other people that I visited, the Americans or Europeans, they mentioned that the language thing, just try to brush up on some Spanish. And the Spanish, I don't know, like from listening to some of these Colombians speak Spanish, it's a bit different than what we're used to, especially in the U.S. I mean, you have a lot of Puerto Ricans and Cubans, but like, did you find it difficult to understand what they were saying, or or
No, for
is it by
me,
region?
yeah, I mean, now the accent's a little bit different. I understand them pretty well. Colombian people are very friendly. They're very social for the most part. You know, they want to talk to you. They're very polite. They want you there, obviously, because you're a tourist.
Yeah,
You're bringing in money to the country. But I didn't find it very difficult to understand them. Most of the time. I mean, there's always some word you're like, what? That's different. But for the
yeah,
most part,
yeah. I
understand.
was watching some videos, and like this guy was this American. I think he was American, and this girl was speaking in Spanish, but I was like, man, I have a hard time understanding what she's saying. It's like it's very the dialect. It's different from what, like, what we're used to here, for the
Yeah.
most part. But so I guess going back to uh the nightlife portion, it seems like a lot of foreigners, Americans, Europeans are going to Colombia now more than ever. Um, Obviously, the nightlife or that kind of party life, and the women, which everyone
Yeah.
knows. There are some beautiful women in Colombia, but like you got to be careful of who you're talking to or how you're meeting people, because you can easily be taken advantage, right?
Yeah, for sure. And what I saw differently from Medellin and Cartagena, in Medellin, you have a lot of digital nomads. Digital nomads are people basically that travel the world on their computer. They're living there maybe for a couple of months, maybe a year, and then they leave. So you see a lot of people that are actually living in Colombia that are not American. And then you have your tourists. But the nightlife, number one, you just have to, like, going back to safety, number one, you have to remember you're in a different country. And sometimes when you drink a lot of alcohol, you forget that. So you have to be very, very careful. Number one, be safe. And it depends what you're going for. Like if you can find someone that's Colombian, and if you can meet friends that are Colombian, or someone that lives there that can show you around, it's always ideal. But if not, you probably want to go with a group of people. You probably don't want to go alone to Colombia if you don't speak English and you don't know the city that well, right? People do it. People don't care. They'll just go by themselves, and nothing's going to happen for the most part. But I would recommend that to start.
Yeah. Um, so I've heard plenty of stories, and you can actually, YouTube all this stuff, but um some guys, like some of these older guys, are a bit, desperate, and find it, they're traveling to go meet women. And here in the US, they're saying, like, you have a hard time, they have a hard time finding, a woman here in the US, so they go there to because it seems easier. And they'll get like 20, 30 matches on Tinder, whatever it is app they're using to find these women. But most of these women are either prostitutes, or they could be basically scamming you, or trying to pull one where they drug you and take everything you have, and they're out of there, and you don't even know what happened. What is that drug called? It's a
Yeah,
what
scopamine.
scopamine. Yeah, you get
Yeah, you
scoped.
get
Yep, yep,
scoped.
yeah,
Yeah, we can talk about that in a second. That's a dangerous drug. But I would say you got two types of people. Some people try to go over there and just, because it is there's no, it's legalized prostitution pretty much. So some people go there for that. I don't, obviously.
yeah.
But there's people that do.
Just
There is people that do. If you want that, it's available and you don't obviously get trouble for it. If you do that, you want to make sure you're not just picking off anybody from the street. You can meet, I mean, it's everywhere. It's on the streets, it's in the nightclubs. You
yeah.
you can order it. The Uber driver or the taxi driver can order it for you. If you want massages sent to your hotel and get massages in your room, you can order that too. Everything is deliverable. Everything is delivered in Colombia. You can get everything
Yeah.
sent to your room.
All right. When you're walking down the streets and like there's I guess there's massage parlors, like are the women out there like trying to get you to come to their are they competing? Like there's different massage parlors and they're all trying to get you into theirs. Is that what you've seen?
Yeah, you'll see them on the streets, but you're like I said, when you're in the Ubers, they have websites over there of women you can select too. If you wanted that, you want a massage. Like my friend ordered a massage from this girl, and she came to the room and got a massage from her. And like I said, and then there's strip clubs if you want that. There's all sorts. I mean, it's everything's open, right? But then you got guys that want to go in there. It's like I'm not having any luck in America finding a good girl. I want to go find a good girl in Colombia. Well, that's different. That's a lot harder to go to Colombia and find a good girl on the dating apps. You're probably going to have to spend some more time in Colombia because if a good girl finds out you're coming just for like the weekend, they know that you're not really looking for anything serious.
Yeah. And like obviously you're gonna find what you're looking for depending on where you're looking for it at. And so I mean this is true anywhere you go, but it seems like from what I've seen and heard in Colombia, there's a lot of Colombian women, like not prostitutes or whatever, not that stuff, but like regular girls. They enjoy actually dating foreigners,
Yeah,
even if they're like still living there, and the guy's living, somewhere else. It seems like from all the different stories I've heard and read, Colombian men are very possessive, kind of like
and controlling.
controlling,
Yeah,
and these women, they're not. They see these other guys come in and they're different, and obviously probably that the fact they have more money, it
yeah, of
helps too.
course.
So they're okay with these open relationships or long term relationship or long distance relationships. I mean, who knows what they're doing when no one's there, anyways. But it seems like they're more open and easier to come by if you're really looking for something long term over there.
Yeah, you can definitely find it. I think I mentioned to you, my friend, he's this guy was Israeli. He didn't even speak Spanish, and I worked with him. And then all of a sudden, I find out he's living in Cartagena, and he married a Colombian chick, like a beautiful 23-year-old girl from a good family, and he met her at the airport. So that's an example of someone that, he never came back. He stayed in Colombia, never returned. And then I
Right.
have other people, other friends that, will meet girls out and about through social groups. But I mean, you can meet girls, good girls on apps. It's just you have to filter through all the BS, man, because there's a lot of, just like the United States, there's girls that have, that are trying to sell it's prostitution, right? So you kind of
Mhm.
know right away what's up with that.
Yeah, and the way their pictures, the way they talk to you, if I understand some guys are not used to that and don't really, they're just clueless and nice and they just naive, and those are the ones that they target. But depending on how they're responding to you and the pictures they're having, like you cannot, normal guy's gonna know, okay, something's up here. This is not normal, and you don't want to bring them back to your room and have them make you or take drinks from them because that's how you can get drugged easily and get taken advantage of.
So I want to talk real for a second here because this is why a lot of people go to Colombia. And sometimes it's not politically correct talking about this, but problem is when you go to Colombia, first of all, there's women everywhere. So you're walking, you're going to the airport, there's women everywhere. It's just it's a different you get there, it's like a different vibe. And the women are usually very friendly, right? So they're very feminine. They're always dressed nice, no matter where when they go out, you'll never see a Colombian girl on the street with flip-flops and her like a shirt, like a t-shirt on. Like they're always dressed because almost like always looking for their future mate or their future partner, right? So they're always looking good. And the malls over there are like the malls back in the day here. Do you remember when you back when we were younger, how the malls were, where you would
Yeah.
go out trying to find women or
Yeah,
talk to girls?
it's always packed, and you know, you go there
Okay,
to check.
that's still very alive in Colombia.
Really.
Yeah, you can go to these malls are 10 times better than the ones in the United States. They're bigger, they're nicer. They have restaurants inside of them, and a lot of girls go there, and you can meet women there also. You can also exchange your money there, better
Yeah.
rate.
I don't know, and I don't know if this is a cultural thing or if it's I don't know what it is, but it seems like women that come from places where aren't as fortunate as us here in the US, they they appreciate they appreciate men more, and they're not as masculine as some of the women here in the US. And you know, that's, you know, a whole different conversation. But you know, over in different places where, you know, they don't have everything we have here, they're more of your typical back in the day woman, where
Yeah, traditional.
traditional woman, where they you know, they're very about their man and will do things to take care of them. Where, you know, here women are, most women here are like, they say like the boss babes or whatever it is,
Yeah,
you know, and they act very masculine. And I'm sure this has been talked about in a million different podcasts, but I see the difference there, and like that, how friendly, just from how friendly people are in different countries. Here, if you're a random guy and you're not super like a supermodel, and you say, try to say hi to a good looking girl down the street, let's say Miami, I mean, you may get cursed out.
yeah,
So
yeah. So here, women are more entitled just because they have more, right? They have
yeah,
more resources. They work. They have their own money. Over there, it's a poor country, So if you take a girl out for a coffee or you take them out, first of all, the girls don't they appreciate anything you do. I went on multiple dates with women in Colombia, different women, and they're very. You can take them to us, what they call a Juan Valdez, which is their Starbucks over there, really good place, check out. Or you can take them to dinner. And actually, taking a girl to dinner in Colombia is like taking a girl out to a drink here because it's cheaper. You're talking about $8-10 for a dinner plate, or 3 or 4 bucks for a drink. So that's another reason you see so many guys from South Florida or from the States, all these guys from Atlanta. Last time I went in Medellin, everyone going to Colombia because it's cheap. What you spend here maybe on a weekend, you can spend the whole week over there.
yeah,
Like what is it going on when you go out? When you go out,
yeah.
how much you usually spend? 100, 200 bucks?
I mean, let's just say you're going to, you know, if you're single, you're going to dinner. Sometimes you're spending, I don't know, 50 to $100 on dinner, depending where you're going. And then you go out to drink. You can easily spend $200, $300 in a night, if you're buying drinks for people. Um, so yeah, I'm sure that that's going to last you for about a week over there at least.
Yeah. So going out, I mean, you go out every night. I have actually a story to share. When I went to Cartagena the first time, I met a couple there, and they were American living in Fort Lauderdale. They were American. Well, she spoke Spanish, but they're both American. They had an American passport. I go to Medellin, and somehow my contacts, he sends me a message because he sees a status update. And him and his wife moved from Fort Lauderdale to Medellin, and now they've been there for about, I think, 5 months now. And the reason they moved is they were paying about $3,000 a month for like a 2 bedroom in the States. And they moved to Medellin, the safest part of Medellin, on a high rise. And they had a 3 bedroom, 3 bath balcony. I think it was like 1,800. That's very expensive for Colombia, by the way. But yeah, they were going out every day to dinner. They were going out for drinks. They would have their personal people that are cleaning their apartment. They had their masseuse. They had all that stuff. So, but they were still getting paid remotely. So that's why they were doing that. They were getting paid in dollars.
Yeah. Um, Real quick, food wise, how was your experience with the cuisine over there, and like all their foods?
So I liked it, but I read the reviews before I go. Like Colombian food is pretty good. The drinks, actually, the juices are really good. I would recommend everybody get those fresh juices they have. But I eat a lot of Peruvian food. I'm a big fan of Peruvian food, and they have really good Peruvian restaurants. I also, when I was in Cartagena, I went to an Argentinian restaurant. I know it sounds bad that I go to all these different restaurants from in
Everything but
Colombia.
Colombian.
Yeah, no, I ate Colombian. I ate Colombian when I was in Cartagena. I ate Colombian when I was in Medellin. But I kind of like to check out the famous restaurants there also when I'm there because I know they're good quality. So food is good. Everyone has their preference, whatever you like. But if you like Peruvian, they have really good Peruvian food.
Yeah.
to check out.
So we talked about, I guess, like where to stay and the different cities, food. Any other like other places or attractions to go see that you recommend while you're there?
Well, if you're in Medellin, you can do the Pablo Escobar tour. So they have like a museum, you can do that. If you're in Cartagena, definitely 100% do the islands. I mean, you have to do the islands. It's beautiful. They have all these inclusive package. They pick you up, they take you there, they feed you, they give you drinks, and they bring you back with the bus. And it's like I think we pay like $40 for the day. I mean, that's how inexpensive it is. It's pretty crazy how cheap it is in Colombia.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah.
I wish, I wish I would have been able to like go visit these places beforehand because it looks, I mean, for if if you're a guy or a group of guys that want to go out and have fun and have a guide trip, it seems like a fun place to go check out. Did you see a lot of like tourists, like families at all, or was it just mostly single people going?
Man, if I'm being honest, I saw a lot of women too from America. I saw a lot of girls that go.
But were they with the girl groups, or were they just, or they were they like with
I
another
think they were
spouse?
in groups, yeah. Or, I just saw a post recently. One of the girls I used to talk to, she went with a group of like five different girls to Medellin. So it's a great girls trip too if they want to do that. Not so great if you're a guy. um, but I think what is the ratio, man. I just got my friend just got. I think I told you about this. He just got back from Colombia. He was in Cali, and we went to have a drink somewhere. And we walk into this bar here in South Florida, and it was like seven guys to like one girl. He's like, we just walked out. We got a drink. We walked out. He's like, I'm going back to Colombia. Like he booked the trip, and I think he leaves. I think he leaves next week. He's like, I can't do it here because every time you go out, it's just, and the ratio over there is totally different. And you go out, it's like at least it's even, but most of the time it's not. It's usually 3 to 1, 4 to 1. There's always more. There's always women when you go out. Over here, it's like depending on the place you go, you might see a lot more guys.
Yeah. Do they party like all night long, like
Yeah,
Miami, or is
yeah, it's all night. It's
really?
they party. Medellin, they party all the time, especially on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Cartagena too. If you have the connections, there's after parties after 5 a.m. You can go. It's pretty wild. But you got to be safe. I think one of the things that you want to talk about is scopolamine, right?
Well, we kind of talked about that a little bit. We didn't get too deep into it, but yeah, the scopolamine, from from what I've heard, and it's just kind of basically drugs you without looking like you're drugged or drunk, and they can make you do whatever they ask that you'll do.
Yeah. So if you go on YouTube or you search online, you're going to see a lot of people, a lot of foreigners that got everything taken because of this drug. Some people lost their life because they put too much of it and you can OD. So you have to be very careful. So some of the things that you have to look out for in Colombia, number one, don't ever leave your drink unattended in Colombia. And this, I'm guilty of this because when you're drinking, you're kind of used to the States, right? Like you leave your drink down, you go to the bathroom, you come back, but that's all it takes is that someone to put something in your drink and they drug you. And now you do everything they ask you to do, or everything they ask you to do, you do it.
Yeah,
So a lot of guys were getting drugged because they're matching with girls on Tinder. They're getting the girl to come back to their building, and then the girl will scope them, will put scopamine, and then all of a sudden they wake up either a day or 2 days later, everything's gone in their apartment, and luckily they wake up because some people don't even wake up.
yeah. I mean, that's pretty awful. Like, can't imagine like having that experience and like waking up, everything's gone. Probably all your belongings, your wallet, your passport, if they got a hold of it. Maybe like they grabbed a bag and everything was in there. But
And this is where I strongly recommend where you guys stay at a hotel. This is experience. Stay at a hotel, talk to the front desk because no one can enter the hotel without giving the ID. And you say, if I come down alone, call the police. If I don't come down, in other words, you let the people know that I'm coming down with her at the end of the night. Because what happens if they drug you, they leave.
yeah.
So if they see leaving or alone, they're really good at the front desk. They notice everything. So they can stop the girl right there and call the police.
Yeah, because if they got she's has to get her ID back anyways, so they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
well, where's our guest?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. I think that's definitely a good thing to do. I mean, at least the first time you go there, because that way you kind of get an idea of what's going on. But yeah, I mean, you gotta be keep your eyes open. Doesn't matter where you are. Obviously, It happens anywhere there's poverty and an opportunity for to take advantage of somebody.
Dude,
It's always around.
Chris, this is happening in Fort Lauderdale all the time. There's girls robbing guys in Fort Lauderdale, bringing them back to the place and robbing them. There was 2 cases last month of people of women just drugging them and taking their stuff.
That's crazy,
So it's
dude.
not only in Colombia, it's everywhere.
You can't
You
even
know?
like it's unbelievable how people just don't even want to work anymore. Just that, they rather drug somebody and rob them rather than go get a job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I'm gonna. It's not gonna realistically. You're nothing's gonna happen if you're safe, right? Just I tell you this kind of stuff not to scare people. It's just to get prepared
yeah,
and just don't fall asleep when you're in Colombia and do stupid stuff. And don't take any drugs.
yeah, just be smart.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Guys, if you enjoyed the podcast, find anything useful or have any questions, leave the comments below. Please like and subscribe to the channel so we can kind of keep going and doing this thing for you. But like I said, any comments, questions, whatever, leave it below. And anything else, Sebastian?
That's it, guys. See you next
All
time.
right. See you next time. Have a good night.
Good
Bye.
night.